everyone. My name is Vicky. I'll be your host today for our very first episode of If Your Clothes Could Talk. Now, we're going to talk about fashion and style. But a lot of people say that they're not really interested in fashion or style. It's not really their thing. But when you think about it, everybody has a certain level of interest in clothes and fashion because we all have to get dressed every morning. So, what is it about our clothes that makes us choose one item of clothing over another? Why do we like certain things in our closets, but ew, we don't like that one? We bought it, but we don't like it. So, because of this commonality with fashion, we all have something to talk about regarding fashion and style. So, think about the clothes that you're wearing right now. Why did you get up and put those clothes on this morning as opposed to something else? We like to choose clothes that we look good in, that fit well, and that make us feel good emotionally. So, think about your outfits that you have on today. What colors are your favorites to wear? Do you like pastel colors? Do you like muted earth tones? Basic everyday browns, khakis, greens? Do you like that? Or do you prefer a more bold pattern, bold colors? And that's an easy question for each person to answer because we all know what we like and what we don't like. Now, also think about the fabrics that you choose. It's summer. It's warm out there. You're not going to see anyone today wearing wool. You're going to see people wearing linen or cotton. Linen is one of my favorite fabrics simply because it has a very low carbon footprint and it drapes well and it looks fantastic and it allows, we don't tend to wear linen close fitting and body hugging. It's with a little room that allows the air to circulate and keep us cool. So there's linen, there's cotton, and then think about these two falls coming up. What about velvet? Isn't velvet lovely? And we tend to think of it as for special occasions, but it's not necessarily. You can wear velvet any day for any reason. And then lastly, I want you to think about silk. What an ancient fabric it is. It drapes so well on the body and it makes us feel fantastic. So, if your clothes could talk, what would they say? Think about that for a moment. Would your clothes say something like this? Wait a second. You've never ever worn me. You bought me. I thought you liked me when you bought me, but you never ever put me on. What's going on there? Your jeans might say this. Did you know that it took more than 2,500 gallons of water to make just one pair of jeans? Think about that. Why so much water? Why is that such an environmental statement? Well, because cotton is not easily dyed, and we have so many different washes of jeans. Those things take time and water. So that's what your jeans might say. Here's something I hope my clothes never say, but I'm sure some of them do. Did you know that I was made in a sweatshop in Bangladesh by a 12-year-old girl? He has no opportunity to go to school because she works literally every day for less than $2 a day. We don't want to think about our clothes saying that, but as we know, a lot of our clothes are made in conditions just like that, and that's not something that makes us happy. And then to get to that emotional connection, think about this. Do you have clothes in your closet that you love so much that you would never give them to a thrift store? You don't even want anybody else to wear those items, and you certainly would never ever get rid of it. What's going on there? That just proves the emotional connection between us and our clothes. We have some that we just love, and we're not ever going to get rid of them. Now, I want to tell you a little story about my very first time. Well, it wasn't my first time. I've been to Humboldt a lot. but it was my first time to be looking for a home up here. I came from a small mountain community called Pine Mountain Club in Southern California, and I wanted to move to Humboldt, well, for the main reason is I could afford it. So I had gotten in touch with some women from Craigslist who were my age and who might advise me about what towns to look for houses in and so forth. So I met one of my friends at the Carson Mansion, and the first thing she said when she saw me is, "Nikki, you're overdressed. You look like you're coming up from San Francisco." So that got me thinking. Now, let me tell you what I had on. I had on a black jersey maxi dress, a white jacket, and a few ropes of pearls. But I was deemed to be overdressed. So after I moved up here, I started thinking, well, am I overdressed? What do what do Humboldt people wear on a day-to-day basis? And I found out that people in Humboldt dress casually for the most part. And so I can see her point that dressed as I was, I might have been deemed to be overdressed. So casual seems to be the operative word in Humboldt County for how people dress. And what does that mean in terms of the look? Well, I've noticed people tend to wear muted earth tone colors up here. There's the khaki. There's the inevitable camouflage. There's deep green, lots of different shades of green. And also the browns, the tans, and occasionally black. I see people occasionally wearing an all black outfit. But what we don't see, or hardly ever see anyone dressed in pastel colors, the baby blues, the pinks. And I hardly ever see anyone wearing bold colors like red or purple, yellow, orange. That's very unusual up here. Also, in terms of what we have on, I see a lot of people wearing jeans, of course. Those are casual garments that go well with pretty much everything. Sweatpants, hoodies, and t-shirts. And then for their footwear, I see a lot of people wearing chunky boots or sneakers. And my first question there is, why are we so casual in Humboldt? Why do we dress so casually? Well, there are lots of reasons, but I think the main reason has to be that our county is known for its nature, which is green for the most part. We've got the blue of the ocean, but it's our forests that we're known for. It's our forests that encourage us to go out for a walk in nature. And so that's it. So think of it like this. If nature is the hub of the wheel in Humboldt County, which I believe it is, then what are the spokes that go out from there? Well, we've got the coastal trails, the new coastal trail that's just finished, that goes forever. People like to get out there and walk right next to the bay. That's a wonderful feeling. Think of all the people who go to the Arcata Marsh to look at birds, or the occasional sighting of an otter. Those things fill us with delight. There's hiking, there's camping, there's fishing. And then for me, every time I go north, I'm always hoping to see the elk herd because, wow, it's amazing to see those things. And so for activities like that, you certainly don't need to dress up. And also, in terms of the setting, the jobs that people have here in Humboldt County, no, there hardly anyone is going to an office where dressing up is essential. Now, think about those activities that we have here in Humboldt. We don't have any upmarket activities here. There are no fancy art galleries that you need to dress up for. There's no opera. We do have the symphony and the Chamber Music Society. And I belong to the Chamber Music Society. I love going to those concerts. But what I've noticed is that even pastors on the pulpit wear jeans to talk to their congregation. So to me, and this is just me, everybody has their own opinion, but to me that seems somehow inappropriate. I believe in dressing for the occasion. So for example, the Chamber Music Society last year had a couple on loan from the San Francisco Opera, a soprano, and a tenor who came up here to perform for us. So, out of respect for their talent and showing gratitude for them driving up to Humboldt and staying here for the entire weekend, I wanted to wear something that looked lovely, and so that when they looked at me from the audience, they saw something that was nice and pleasing to the eye. I don't believe in dressing like I'm going out to a day at the beach when I'm going to a music concert. So, Humboldt style, casual in any case. Also, after COVID, people stopped dressing, well, we never went out. And so there's that to consider. So now today our theme is Humboldt style. We have as our guest Taylor, whom I know from the office, and she is the office fashion maven. And so I got her, she agreed to be here today to talk about what Humboldt style is and a couple of other things about her own personal style, which, come on. It's just perfect. So, Taylor, when I say Humboldt style, and if you had to describe Humboldt style to someone who's never even been here, what would you say?
Well, great question. Well, first off, Vicky, thank you so much for having me to ease us of this conversation and so back to chatting with all. Thank you so much. And I would just like to reflect that right back to you and say you are our office fashion maven.
Okay.
Always coming styled, considered, thoughtfully dressed. And it really brings a special element to the office. It absolutely increases our professionalism and our sense of really purpose in what we're doing. So thank you so much for always thank
You.
absolutely. Okay, if I had to talk about Humboldt style, I would absolutely agree that casual dress is the order of the day. Yeah. Right? Yes. And that anecdote you shared about your friend saying, well, Vicky, you're overdressed. So I've absolutely experienced that as well. And to that I say, and? And? Is that problematic? Is that problematic? It can feel a little uncomfortable, but I think it's important to express ourselves. And Humboldt prides itself on people being themselves.
Yeah.
That's sort of radical and rugged individualism, right? That characterizes the West.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of dissonance there where, well, you're hanging yourself,
Yeah.
but it allows you to stand out a little bit,
Right.
right? If you want to shine a little, all you have to do is, wear a little silk, wear
Yes.
pearls, and you get
Yeah.
to really shine a little bit, which is
Yeah.
precious.
It is, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so your personal style, how would you describe it?
Ooh, no one's ever asked me that question.
Uh-huh.
How I describe my personal style? Well, I do like to thread in an element of polished professionalism
Yes.
in almost anything I wear.
Yeah.
I like to project that. I like to be perceived that way, basically, right? It gives me a sense of comfort in the world to have it part of my exterior identity. But I love a luscious fabric, right? You spoke earlier about silk. I'm wearing a silk top, a silk skirt.
Play.
I love to feel good in my clothes.
Yes.
There's a sensual element to what we wear, and I love to embrace that and just have that be a part of my decision-making process and what I wear for the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. And speaking of decision-making process, I love that necklace because we don't even have time today to really talk about accessories.
No,
But oh my goodness,
that's a whole
yeah, that's
other thing.
exactly. That's another show, and we're hoping that you come back and join us because you're just the perfect guest. And so, but that necklace is just perfect. Can you tell us a little bit about where you got that? And
Yeah, and thank you so much for asking. No, this came from my mom. This was a gift from my mom. This was just a necklace she loved for years, and it had just been in her jewelry box for some time, kind of unworn.
yeah,
I don't know, probably 10 years ago. She said, do you want this? It's part of the way that one of our family love languages is gift giving, right? So
yeah,
just
right.
this, not in like a flippant way, like, oh, you want this thing I've never worn, but hey, would you like to re-embody this precious object?
Oh,
So that's where this comes from.
Yeah.
I love it. So this has some familial matrilineal history that goes along with it.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
And, another thing that I'm sure our audience is noting is that you are rocking the monochrome look, and that is very chic, very stylish, and makes us look like we have more money than we actually have.
No,
That's always a plus.
no harm in
No, exactly, exactly. Wow, look at her. And so lovely. You've got the matching browns there, and then kind of like the muted tone of that gorgeous
I
necklace.
do love to wear natural tones.
I was just about to ask you about that. Tell us a little bit about that.
I love to wear natural tones, and I've been trying to embrace color a little bit more lately because why not, right?
Exactly.
Largely because you inspire me. You were amazing colors to the office, and you inspire me. So I've been leaning a little more into colors, but my default is absolutely a neutral, natural palette. And I think I've always been that way. I grew up really close to nature, obviously live really close to nature now, and that's such major influence on every aspect of my life. How I dress, absolutely. So let me ask you, you are absolutely a fan of wearing amazing colors, whether you be in a monochromatic outfit or something that's incorporating, yellow and orange, and blue. You really pull it together. So on that note, when you're pulling together very different and contrasting colors, what pulls it together for you? What's the thread that weaves through an outfit that might otherwise give chaos, but there's something in it that gives absolute perfection? So how do you get there?
Well, thank you for asking that. One of the things I do every day, as close to getting up as possible, is I go to the website called Who, What, Where, WEAR.
Yeah.
And in many cases, they're all about the color blocking. And I love color blocking. So why not, it's not against the law, why not wear a yellow blazer with an orange blouse?
Yeah.
I mean, especially in the summer, it looks fantastic, I think. And also, I'm a big fan of red. But and then I do wanna check our time, we're doing fine. I wanted to ask you about your family fashion history and how long you've been interested in fashion. Go ahead and talk about that a little bit for me, please.
Thank you. What a thoughtful question. Thank you. Uh, I remember being really young and being interested in fashion, being 8 or 9, and really starting to get a taste for that element of self-expression.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I was, I wasn't, I grew up rurally, right? I wasn't in an urban area. So dressing, putting together an outfit wasn't necessarily a big part of the day.
Yeah.
And I dressed like a normal kid, right?
Right.
I always found myself really appreciating fine workmanship and artfully dressed women and men.
Yes.
And watching movies, period pieces or whatever, and just being totally swept away by the costumes. Like,
Oh,
Slotline be darned, I'm here for the wardrobe.
I hear you.
And so from a young age, I've always been interested in that. And I think in my teenage years, right, watching Sex and the City, you're probably too young to be watching Sex and the City, but watching for the outfit
I know.
that
Oh my
the rushing through fashion, the storytelling through fashion, with that very influential for me. Um, I would say, my mom has always had a great sense of style.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
okay.
mom has always had a fantastic sense of style, and, we didn't have a lot of extra money, so it wasn't like we had tons of cash just blow on designer wardrobe or whatever, but it was always about choosing pieces that worked for you
Yes.
and that you could work in multiple ways.
Oh, well said, exactly.
And which I think is important, especially in trying to build a sustainable wardrobe. Can I work this in more than one way? Can I wear this like more than one time a year? You know, she always looked great, like no matter what. Even when she was had on a pair of sweatpants, she always looks great, and that's something that something really kind of magical about her presence. So she just
Yeah.
carries herself in a way and can like carry a piece of clothing in a way that gives it a whole other element of power. Now, what about you? Tell me about your
Well,
daily
I tell ya,
fashion.
my mom was just she always looked fabulous no matter what she was wearing, but she would dress casually, but then she would put on more jewelry or a bright colored, very noticeable thing. And also she was a seamstress, which I cannot stress that enough of how much I loved that about my mom. So when I was about 6, she took me to a fabric store. I thought I was gonna die. And she said, "Let's make an apron for you," because my dad liked to cook too. So she wanted to make something that I could wear in the kitchen, that wouldn't ruin my clothes. So I made, with her help, of course, I made a little apron that was, orange, peachy kind of percale with little white flowers on it. And she said, "You know what? We're gonna start making a lot of your clothes. Let's start off with simplicity patterns, then we'll move up to McCall's, and then we'll finish with Vogue." And so by the time I was 16, I was making my first Vogue dress.
Oh,
And
what
so,
nice.
yeah, it is. And so I always loved colors and fabrics and the way, like you said, that you could put an outfit together. So that meant a lot to me. Um, Now I do want to kind of circle back and ask you, you had mentioned that with muted tones, you can do a lot. What's the benefit of having what we would call um, a minimalist type of wardrobe, with maybe just 10 or 12 pieces of clothing that you could mix and match? What do you think about that?
Or a capsule wardrobe?
Yes, exactly. There's the word. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, what first comes to mind is, while having the privilege of time and resources to have a really broad spectrum of choices is fabulous, and there's a season for that.
Yeah.
There are also seasons of life where we just need to streamline things. We need to make our daily choices a little bit easier for ourselves.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the sustainability of our psychic energy,
Yeah.
right? If you're just like, I just need to know I can go in my closet and pick out these 3 pieces, put them on, and look great. There's something very comforting about that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's maybe even that gives us a sense of sort of inner security, right? I know I can go to my closet and put out something that's gonna look good,
Yeah.
no matter what. There's not a sea of choices. I know it's gonna work.
Right.
And then, of course, on the natural sustainability, yeah, component of things, and just having less is better for everyone. Videos environmentally and from the human aspect of human resources. Scared, that's what I would say to that.
Uh-huh.
What about you? Because neither one of us are minimalists.
Well, now that's true. I mean,
Bit to being something other than what we're naturally inclined to.
oh, I
What
know.
does that bring up for you?
Well, part of the reason that I can say that is because I'm not a minimalist. I counted the other day and I think I've got 45 blazers. Well, people would say, "Oh, come on now. That's just crazy."
Wonderful.
But I mean, I think it's wonderful too.
Great.
Yeah, because then you can satisfy every little desire you have to look a certain way. There's hardly anything that I can't pull off from my closet. But at the same time, I do appreciate the benefit of having that capsule wardrobe because, like you said, it's easy, and we live stressful lives, and so you might not want to get up in the morning and spend 30 minutes just thinking about what to wear. You just know, I'll wear this and this and this. And so that's a big part of it, but I do love the variety of clothing, the variety of fabrics. There's just something lovely about it, and it makes a certain statement, like you were saying, to go out there looking great.
Yeah.
And then I also, let's just face it, Taylor, I like the compliments I get when I go out to the grocery store or wherever, and people say, "Oh my god, I love your outfit. Oh, your hair, it was fabulous. Oh, you look great." What was it? Someone said, "Oh, you look so dashing. You look marvelous." Okay, hello, tell me more. Exactly. I love you. Hello. Exactly. So I mean, that's a big part of it. And when I see a well-dressed person, it makes me happy. I just want to tell you real quick though. I was at Eureka Natural Foods one day and I saw a woman stocking the shelves in the wellness department, and she had on a royal blue velvet dress.
Yeah.
I made a beeline and I said, "Hun, that just looks so wonderful." And of course, she told me, no surprise here, that that was a dress that she just loved to wear. She felt wonderful in it, and that there was no such thing as, "Oh my goodness, you're just going to be stocking shelves. Why are you wearing velvet?" She was wearing velvet because she wanted to, and she liked the way that wearing velvet made her feel. Wonderful. And so, there you go. I also have to tell you, we're doing okay for time. We're starts revving up. Walking by the courthouse one day, I saw a man, middle age in his, 40s, 50s, with a black pinstripe suit, a white crisp button-down shirt, a lovely tie, and walking a fabulous dog that matched his outfit. He didn't do that on purpose, I asked him, but he did do it on purpose. But you nevertheless.
Purpose is certainly intuitively.
Well,
right?
there you go. Exactly. And so, boy, talk about standing out, talk about looking wonderful. And, you know, the joy that I got just from looking at him, that makes a big, huge difference, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And to make people feel good.
Absolutely. If I can share an anecdote.
Oh, please.
This was a very humble fashion moment the other day, and very much ties into the complimentary aspect, right? Yeah, was back and forth. I had just pulled up in the parking lot at Eureka Natural Foods, and this gentleman pulled up right next to me, and he was in like an older model, kind of beat up, Tacoma, very Humboldt. And he always got this long gray hair, and I can just tell from his profiles, like he's giving energy, right? This guy's full of energy, and he has a classic Humboldt fashion outfit. He's got on this, kind of rough weave, natural fiber vest that's very like a Humboldt landscape palette, kind of hatchwork.
Yeah.
He's got on some clearly well-loved sterling silver jewelry, right? So, but very, very present. And he's got on, really well-loved, well-worn, thick canvas trousers, and he's got this little leather doodad, little satchel with his little knife tucked in, not pregnant.
Yeah.
He's ready for his day.
Yes,
for his
exactly
life.
right.
And he might, to some person, think, oh, this guy has a knife, he's kind of threatening, but I just looked over and said, I just love your outfit, you look amazing. And I rolled my window down and said, you look great. And he said, oh, thank you so much. You right back at you. If you as well, thank you so much. And I think giving compliments in that way to perfect strangers
Yes.
is a really lovely way to connect with our community.
It absolutely.
I see you being yourself. I
Yeah.
see you radiating a certain signature, and I appreciate it, and I recognize it. And recognizing each other in that way is special.
Oh, I know now.
Maybe don't hide in that.
I know. I try to make a point to when I see someone dressed beautifully and it's making me happy, I tend to tell them that, because then maybe they didn't think about that. Maybe they just put that on. But so it is wonderful, isn't it? And we're so lucky to live here where self-expression is brought to the forefront without even thinking about it. Well, our time is almost up, but next week we're going to be talking about one of my fashion gurus, which I'll save that for next time to talk about this. So in the meantime, think about your fashion gurus. I know you have them,
Absolutely.
Oh, of course, we do.
The library.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you again for coming, and please join us again, because, oh my goodness, it's just so lovely to have someone who loves fashion, who looks fabulous all the time, and who has a great and bubbly personality. So thank you, Taylor.
You're welcome. And all of that right back to you.
Okay, thank you. And audience, we'll see you next time on If Your Clothes Could Talk. Thank you. Bye-bye.